Penguins got roughed up at home the other night. They're off to a good start on the road, but on home ice it's not the same. 5-0 Toronto. They're 6-0 on the road, and they dictated terms. Josh, I want to ask you here about concerns, specifically blue line concerns with the Penguins. Jack Johnson is okay. He's not been what I think as advertised. There have been ups and downs for a lot of guys. What is the state of the blue line with the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Well, there's good and bad news, Bob. The good news, Chris Letang, I think, is back. He has been outstanding so far this season. He looks like the guy that he was 2 or 3 years ago. That's great. He and Brian Dumoulin are obviously elite defensemen in this league. However, the rest of the blue line has really struggled at times. Jack Johnson is a guy, his signing was controversial. They didn't need to give him 5 years. I think we can all agree on that. He hasn't been awful, and his penalty killing has actually been really good. But his 5-on-5 work has not been good enough. He's not alone. Ole Mata has struggled at times. Alexiak's been better lately. Chad Ruhwedel, just okay. So really, after those top two, the blue line has not been great. We all talked about the depth they had on the blue line before the season. They do have depth, but if it's a bunch of average players after the first two guys, that's going to be a problem come springtime.
I think there's been a speed slowdown, especially with Daly and now Justin Schultz minused from the equation going back to the 2017 team. I don't think they've replaced that with as much speed. Simone, for all of Bob's attributes that I'm sure he will go through in just a few moments here, is not as fast as Connor Sheary. I don't know. I don't think Cullen's as fast as he was 2 years ago. I'm not sure if Sid and Rust and Kessel are even as fast as they were 2 years ago. I think the Penguins are having some of their speed games shoved back at them so far this year.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the Johnson thing because I wonder how much of it was nepotism because of his relationship with Crosby, because Rutherford drafted him as a first rounder and is like doubling down on that pick. And with a 5-year deal, you take a shot on a guy for 2 years. It's not an albatross contract, but the years, plus you throw Mata's contract into the mix too. I just feel like they've got too many bad deals at a very critical position. And even though their depth at the NHL level is good, where is their depth in the organization? There's no young guy in the pipeline who's going to come up here, I think, and challenge those guys. So that's disconcerting, in my opinion.
You mentioned deals, Andrew. One deal they gave him this offseason was Patrick Hornquist. Everybody agreed 5 years, $25 million, maybe a little bit over the top. But Josh, I want to ask you, are they wasting their investment in him by not playing him in the top six?
Well, the problem is he can only play on the right side. He is a right wing, and they are loaded at right wing. When you have Phil Kessel, Brian Rust, Daniel Sprong obviously has a lot of potential, and some other guys who can play on the right side, Dominic Simone as well. I don't know if they're wasting him. Hornquist is always going to put up his goals on the power play, and he can be effective wherever you put him. But I personally love him with Crosby. I always have. Sid doesn't always like playing with him. He likes to play with the fastest guys on the team always. But I think they're good together. And I think, Tim touched on this. The Penguins are not faster than everyone else in the league anymore. They simply are not. And if I may use a basketball term, they need to use more of a half-court offense. They need to control the puck more down low. That's what Crosby's the best in the world at, and Hornquist can absolutely help him in that regard.
Yeah, and if it works in the playoffs, which it does, and if you look at the numbers 5-on-5 analytically, they're not as vastly different with Hornquist next to Crosby as I thought until I started drilling them down, but they are in the playoffs. So if they can work it out in the playoffs when things matter the most, why can't they do it in the regular season, or why can't Mike Sullivan make them work it out?
And you know what? I look at like what Van Riemsdyk and what like Evander Kane and those guys got in free agency, and they might be slightly better players than Hornquist, and they might be a little bit younger. But the gulf between what they're making annually versus Hornquist makes me feel like even if the regular season goal production or point production isn't there, you still feel like you're getting your money's worth because of some of the intangibles he brings and some of the other things he brings that might not show up in a box score.
Penguins and the Devils tomorrow night, another tough game at PPG Paints Arena, and then they head to Washington after that, so not an easy week for the Penguins. When we come back, we're going to talk about Pitt and Penn State. College football is next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.